Hello, my amigas. It's time for the memory of the month. Stay tuned and we'll get right into it. So today I'm going to share with you a memory of the month, and what made me think about this was I have a friend who had to go for an MRI, and it just made me think of a story about Bradley having an MRI. So Bradley does have some other medical conditions that go along with his autism, and so he has to have an MRI of the brain and of his kidney probably every year, every 18 months. So this goes back a really, long time. We've been doing this for a very long time. So it must have been 2008 or 2009, Bradley had to go in for a renal MRI, which is an MRI of the kidney. And so we were in Massachusetts at the time. If you've ever, been in an MRI, it's this big tube, the tray comes out, you get on the tray. So, they had to really set Bradley up. And it was an MRI room like I had never really been in before. So like the MRI machine was down, like in this kind of cement room, and then there were stairs going up where the technicians were, so they could look down on the MRI machine. It's almost like something you see in those movies with like the spacecraft and the alien, and people are looking down, but like very military. So Bradley always wants me in the room when he would have an MRI. He used to. I don't have to do that anymore. So I would have to take off all my jewelry, anything metal. I'd put earplugs in, and he would, I would just kind of scooch to the side, but just so I could be there. He just wanted me in the room with him, so I would do that. And so because it was a renal MRI, they have to be very precise. So they laid him down on the tube, and to get him all ready for the MRI and actually put him into the tube, it probably took about 20 minutes of prep, because they had to lay him down exactly, and they put some other things over him, and then they got his little headphones, and they explained everything to him, and he'd been through many MRIs, and they gave him a ball to squeeze in case there's an emergency. So we got all this prep done, all this set up, and Bradley went into the tube, and the MRI starts. And if you have been in an MRI, you'll know it, but it's a very loud sound that's like da 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 that goes on for like 45 minutes, and you'll hear some click 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 da 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 da. I find it like after a while like a little bit soothing, like rhythmic, like drums. So I was just kind of sitting there with my eyes closed, just having some alone time. I couldn't have my phone, so just alone time. And then all of a sudden, I hear all this action. Doors are opening and people are running down the stairs, and I look up and the MRI table is sliding out from it, and I know that they weren't done. They were right in the middle, because on the MRI machine, you can see a countdown. So I was like, oh, what happened? Well, Bradley, while he was in the tube, squeezed the ball, which means I need to come out of the tube. Something's happening. So he comes out of the tube. The technician comes down. It's like, hey, Brad, what's going on? And Brad said, can you ask my mom if we're still having tacos tonight? So I thought that was so funny. I thought the technician, and I'm like, yes, we're having tacos tonight. The technician was definitely frustrated, because now he had to spend another 10 to 15 minutes resetting everything up, putting Brad back in the tube and starting the test over. When Bradley was going back, I said, Brad, only squeeze the ball if it's in case of an emergency. If you have a question, just save it and we'll talk about it later, okay? Okay, good. So my friend having an MRI made me think of that MRI story, and it just makes me laugh, because, our kids are just, so sweet, and there he is in an MRI machine, which is really uncomfortable. If you've ever been in an MRI machine, like you're being like squeezed in a tube. He's a big guy. And, he's not worried about, gosh, I'm having this medical problem. Is it going to be surgery? Is something going on? He's thinking about what we're having for dinner. He's thinking about tacos. And it was just kind of like a great reminder sometimes that we just not take life so seriously, think about the things that we enjoy and we love. And I think that's one of the great things about sometimes meeting people with disabilities, is that, they're not so stressed sometimes about the hustle and bustle that everybody else is. They're kind of living life at their own pace, really stopping and enjoying life, taking time to smell the roses, and that's just what this story reminded me of. So if you have a sweet story about your child and just one of those kind of tense moments that they brought you back down to earth, and just remembering the joy of everything and not so much the tense, hardcore day-to-day life that you're living, please share it below. I think we'd all love to hear it. We could all use some levity right now. Thanks so much for joining me on Life with a Side of Autism, and I'll see you on the next video.